All right, I've done game breakdowns for the two playoff games. I did like 15-minute videos on each one, and said in those videos, I think both are going to be good games. It was hard for me to make picks on the games, and that I would make my picks later, and I'm ready to do that now. My two picks for the playoff games. I've made a video about some of the other bowl games as well. I did a prediction video about the Ohio State Missouri game. There are a ton of good bowl games coming up this week, starting really on Wednesday. Monday is Christmas. There are some bowl games on Tuesday. No great games, but starting on Wednesday, you got 4 great days of games: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. All great games. Culminating Monday with the actual playoff games. But I'm going to go ahead and give you my predictions for these playoff games today. Well, the games aren't today. I'm going to give you my predictions today for the two playoff games: Alabama versus Michigan, Texas versus Washington are your two games. And Uncle Lou's official prediction looks like this right here. Unfortunately, I'm predicting the season to come to an end for our buddies out in Washington and our cheaters, the Michigan Wolverines. I was leaning towards taking Alabama and Texas when I did my preview videos, and I just haven't. Nothing has been able to change my mind. I am not very confident in either one of these picks, and in fact, I probably won't bet on either one of these games. I'm picking one favorite and one underdog here. Alabama, of course, is about a 2-point underdog. It's been bouncing around between 1 and 2 points, depending on where you look and when you look. So Alabama's been about a 1 to a 2-point underdog. I'm going to take the underdog there, Alabama to win. Texas is about a 4 to 6 point favorite, kind of bouncing around there over Washington, and I'm going to take that favorite to win. Texas, which, if comes true, like I said, the beat of your season is over for Washington and Michigan. Let me just give you my final thoughts on the game. Again, if you're interested in more of my in-depth thoughts about the game, matchups, who has advantages in certain areas, click back a few videos. I did one about Alabama and Michigan, and I did one about Texas and Washington. I'm kind of just wrapping up here and giving my official predictions, which, again, I'm predicting Alabama to win and Texas to win. For the Alabama-Michigan game, I cannot get past what I perceive to be a huge coaching mismatch in this game, particularly when it comes to postseason. I do not think Jim Harbaugh is a terrible coach. He's clearly one of the I don't know. Anytime you do try to say this is the third best coach, people get mad. Harbaugh is a top 10 coach at the very worst, likely a top 5. Let's keep in mind, this is the third year in a row he's won the Big Ten. The third year in a row Michigan has made the playoffs. That's not easy to do. I know the struggles. I know they haven't won a playoff game. I know the bowl record. I know all that, which is one of the reasons, the main reason why I'm picking Alabama in this game. But Harbaugh's a great coach. But there's just, when you combine the fact that Alabama's got Nick Saban, and this year in particular might be his best coaching job or one of them, the reality is this Alabama team is not on the level of almost any other Alabama team we've seen in the last decade. Yet here they are, one game away from playing for a national title, with a quarterback who looked like he'd never seen a football before in the month of December, an offensive line that appeared to be the most overrated in college football history, a defense that looked like we were sold a bill of goods about, and here they are. One loss early in the year. They beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, and they're sitting in the play. Just an unbelievable coaching job by Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time. 3 weeks to prepare for this game against Jim Harbaugh, a guy that's had half the year off. He only coached in 6 of their 13 games. He was suspended for he coached in 7 of their 13 games, 6 in the regular season and the Big Ten championship game. He was suspended for the other 6. You look at his postseason record at Michigan, and it's just... Now, look, a team losing yesterday doesn't mean they'll lose tomorrow. It's never meant that. This team is 0-4 against this team throughout history, therefore they're never going to... I know none of that matters. You can lose to a team today and beat them tomorrow. You can lose 100 bowl games in a row and win the next one. I get all that. So it's not purely that. But you look at Michigan's struggles in the postseason, and it almost seems as though the more time Harbaugh has to prepare, the worse his team performs. They won their two biggest games of the year this year without Jim Harbaugh. I don't know what Jim Harbaugh brings to the table for this matchup in the positive. I just don't. Saban with extra time to prepare and a more talented roster than Michigan against Harbaugh, who's winless in the playoffs, 0-2. Now, one of those losses was to a much better team, Georgia, 2 seasons ago. But the loss last year to TCU, even a year later, looking back on that loss, it's unexplainable. TCU did deserve to be in the playoffs. They proved that by beating Michigan. They were 12-1, undefeated, the whole deal. I'm not going through that debate again. They did deserve to be there. But Michigan should have won that game. And for whatever reason, they played terrible. McCarthy had a couple of pick sixes and probably the worst game the offensive line played. It was just, I don't know. And so I just can't get over the what I perceive to be just a huge coaching mismatch here. Harbaugh's 1-6 in the postseason at Michigan in bowl games, 0-2 in the playoffs. I perceive these teams to be very similar, both in terms of talent, style, how they've looked this year, how they've played, big lines of scrimmage, good defense, running games, quarterbacks that you kind of have to coach around. Very similar, which is why I think this spread is as close as it is, 1 or 2 points, and it's in Michigan's favor. It's why I think this game is hard to pick. And no outcome would surprise me here. If I will not be surprised if Michigan wins this game. I think they're close to or as good as Alabama. I will not be surprised if Alabama wins this game. This is a hard game to pick. To me, it just comes down to the coaching, and I cannot talk myself into rolling the dice with Harbaugh against Saban. So I'm taking Michigan or Alabama to win a close one. Now, to the Texas-Washington game, I don't really have a good explanation for picking Texas here. In fact, if you're a Washington fan, you should probably be glad I'm picking Texas. Washington, last year it was Utah, last season. If I picked Utah to win, they lost. If I picked them to lose, they won. This year it's been Washington. I picked them to lose a couple of games. They won them. I picked them, the Oregon games and all that. They remind me of last year's TCU team. Washington does. You watch them, and outside of Michael Penix, nothing really blows you away. I mean, I like Odunze, the wide receiver. But last year, TCU had Max Duggan, and I'm drawing a blank on the wide receiver's name now, but he was a first-round pick. And you watch them play, and you're like, man, okay, they keep winning, but, there's no way they're beating Oregon. Then they beat Oregon. Oh, no way they're beating them again, and they beat them again. Then they play Oregon State, barely win. Play this team, barely win. But they win. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm going with Texas. I think Texas has a much better roster, top to bottom. And when it comes to the defensive front, I think Texas is going to be able to affect Michael Penix more regularly and more often than the Washington defensive front will be able to affect Quinn Ewers. Running games are kind of a wash here. I wasn't impressed with Washington's running game first half of the season or so, but they picked it up there towards the end. Was it the Southern Cal game? The guy had 200-something yards rushing, and he kind of turned it on after that. Same with Texas. Jonathan Brooks goes down. Now, they've ran the ball well even since Jonathan Brooks' injury, but clearly not the same as with Jonathan Brooks. This is going to be a great QB battle, sort of the opposite of the Alabama-Michigan game. To me, the Alabama-Michigan game is two really good teams who are sort of dragging their quarterbacks along for the ride. Texas and Washington, you've got two really good quarterbacks who, not dragging the rest of the team, because, look, both these teams are filled with NFL players. Texas in particular, though, I think has the talent edge. Coaching, I don't know that there's a coaching edge here. Kalen DeBoer at Washington has been one of the best coaches in the country for the last couple years. Steve Sarkisian, on the other hand, ton of potential, ton of hype, never able to put it all together until this season, right? They've only got the one loss, that coming to their rival Oklahoma, but they've got the big win over Alabama earlier this year. And if I'm right and Alabama wins that Sugar Bowl, we're going to get a rematch, Texas-Alabama in the national championship game. But that's the way I'm going. And much like the Alabama-Michigan game, I will not at all be surprised if Washington wins. If you notice, I'm not on here talking a bunch of trash. That's not what this is. Obviously, these are four really, really good teams. I haven't heard, and I hope I don't hear, anyone make the case that one of these 4 playoff teams shouldn't be in. All 4 of these teams are playoff worthy teams. Now, Florida State is too. I'm not going down that. That's the problem this year. Some years there's not 4 playoff worthy teams. So arguing over who's 4 or 5 is almost irrelevant. Because neither the 4 or the 5 is really on the same level as the 1, the 2, or the 3, or the 1, 2, and 3. This year, you had 5, maybe even 6 teams that I think were playoff quality, playoff level, playoff caliber teams, and that's what's added to all this mess with the playoffs. But, Florida State was undefeated. Yes, they should have been in. But, who do you take out? Because I think all 4 of the other teams that are in also deserve to be in. It just happens to be one of those years where we've got more than 4 playoff caliber or level type teams. I still feel bad for Florida State for getting left out, but they did get left out. But these 4 teams, to me, definitely deserve to be in the playoffs. Yes, Florida State deserves it too, but there's only 4 spots. So I don't want to hear any of that. I won't be surprised if Washington wins this game. I won't be surprised if Texas wins. But you got to pick a winner. So I'm going to go with Texas, which will make the Texas fans happy. I think the Washington fans should also be happy that I'm picking against them, because I picked against them, I believe, 3 times this season. I know I picked against them in both Oregon games, and I think I picked against them in one other game, not the Oregon State game. I actually did take Washington in that. Anyway, so again, not here to trash either team, Washington or Michigan. Not here to do that. 2 really good teams. Yes, Michigan cheated, and both things are true. Michigan cheated, and they're one of the best 4 teams in the country. Now, whether one led to the other, we can debate that in the offseason, but that's it. That's your playoffs. Rose Bowl, Alabama, Michigan. Sugar Bowl, Texas, Washington. Should be 2 really good games. These games come on New Year's Day. So Monday, New Year's Day, 5 o'clock or 5:30 for the first one, 8:45 for the second one. So I don't know. I'm hoping for 2 really good games, and I have a feeling that's what we're going to get. I mean, as a college football fan, when you watch these games, that's what you want. Good, hard-fought, close games, and so hopefully that's what we get. But put me down for Alabama over Michigan and Texas over Washington for our college football playoffs this season.